Justin, ladies and gentlemen, a brand new update just was released about 3 hours ago by The Hill and Judge Xinis, the immigration judge that has been presiding over the wrongful illegal deportation, kidnap, and human trafficking case regarding Kilmar Abrego Garcia's wrongful illegal removal from the country without his due process rights being violated, and in violation of a court order from 2019 that barred his removal from fear of being persecuted in El Salvador from a local gang members, excuse me. Let's take a look at this brand new reporting by The Hill.
The Trump administration is formally invoking the state secrets privilege as it seeks to avoid handing over documents in the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He is the husband and father who was living in Maryland before being deported to a notorious prison in El Salvador, despite a court order that blocked him from being sent to that country. Joining us to discuss, Zach Schoenfeld, courts and legal reporter here at The Hill. Zach is also the co-author of the Gavel newsletter. Get it in your inbox. Okay, so Zach, what's the information the Trump administration is trying to hide here, and what happens now that the Trump administration has invoked the state secrets privilege?
Hey, Drew, we don't know a lot about what specifically the Trump administration is trying to block here because they had invoked this privilege under seal. The only reason we even know about this is the judge in this case issued an order that referenced that the government had indeed invoked this privilege. So all we know based on her order is that there's various documents that they don't want to turn over. And also according to a new filing that we got from the plaintiffs in this case, the attorneys for Abrego Garcia, they say that there are also concerns over one of the depositions that was supposed to be taking place this week of a top Trump administration official. So we don't know too much more than that, but we do know that this discovery, these depositions and these documents all have to do with the efforts that the Trump administration under the Supreme Court's ruling has supposedly was supposed to take to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return. So we expect that a lot of this material has to do with any contacts between the Trump administration and the government in El Salvador and things of that nature. But now that the government has invoked it, the next step here is the judge is going to hold a hearing on May 16th to decide whether this privilege is properly invoked, and then we'll go from there.
What about this whole notion, a lot of the commentary surrounding this case has been whether or not Abrego Garcia is an MS-13 gang member. Is that in any way a part of these court hearings, and are we going to ever get any clarity on the government's case, why the government says that he is a member of that gang?
It really hasn't been.
Really quick, ladies and gentlemen, before we continue with the legal breaking reporting, as U.S. Maryland Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen told the Trump administration, told the Trump administration when the day he got back from El Salvador, as well as in a letter to Donald Trump himself, put up in court or shut up in court. That's illegal small talk for present your evidence that you supposedly have, or shut your damn mouths. He didn't say shut your damn mouths, that's my interpretation. ladies and gentlemen. Continuing with the article, or with the legal breaking reporting.
Been too much of a focus of the legal case. Obviously, it's been a huge focus in the court of public opinion. The Trump administration out there at the White House and other public settings has been accusing Abrego Garcia of being a member of MS-13. This is a claim that's largely based on an immigration judge's ruling, as well as a confidential informant who had reported to authorities that Abrego Garcia is a member of the gang. His family denies any gang ties, but really that the center of this legal case isn't a question of whether he's an MS-13 gang member or not, because there was an immigration judge ruling saying that he was not able to be deported to El Salvador because of fears that his family's business, that they would have been extorted by a rival gang. So like I said, it's not a huge part of the focus of this case, but obviously in the broader battle over Abrego Garcia's return, it has been a big focus.
You mentioned those depositions that were supposed to happen this week. That would be a pretty dramatic development, I would think, having Abrego Garcia's lawyers question under oath members of the Trump administration about this case. So that's not going to happen now. Do we have any idea of when those depositions could actually go? Forward.
So originally there were 4 depositions that the judge here had ordered, 4 different Trump administration officials who had to sit for depositions. According to a new court filing that landed actually just a few minutes ago, just before you and I started talking, we now know that 3 of those 4 depositions have taken place. The 4th was supposed to take place later this week, but now according to some of these new court filings, it seems that it might be delayed as we sort through these issues of privilege. Abrego Garcia's lawyers say they're fine with waiting for the judge to resolve that before going ahead with that 4th official's deposition. And then in addition to that, Abrego Garcia's lawyers just this morning in this same filing have made a request to depose an additional 3 Trump administration officials. So, the basics are we have some depositions done and potentially more on the way, but Abrego Garcia's lawyers are also saying that even with the depositions so far, they say they have gotten some information, but they're still a bit unclear as to what steps are really being taken here to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return.
One of the other underlying issues in this case is the Supreme Court order that you talked about, where the court said that the Trump administration had to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return, but there are some questions about what exactly facilitate means. Are we any closer to getting an understanding of what the Supreme Court meant by that? And is there a chance It's that we might actually have to go back to the Supreme Court.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, let's really quick, before we continue with the reporting by these two nice gentlemen, let's really quick look up the definition of effectuate.
Or to get more clarity on what it meant by that word facilitate.
You know, it seems that there really is.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we are with the definition of facilitate. Ladies and gentlemen, the definition of facilitate is by Oxford Languages. The definition is verb, making an action or making an action or process, easy or easier. Ladies and gentlemen, there you are with the definition of effectuate. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get back into the reporting.
Really being taken here to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return.
One of the other underlying issues in this case is the Supreme Court order that you talked about, where the court said that the Trump administration had to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return. But there are some questions about what exactly facilitate means. Are we any closer to getting an understanding of what the Supreme Court meant by that? And is there a chance that we might actually have to go back to the Supreme Court to get more clarity on what it meant by that word facilitate?
You know, it seems that there really is a chance that this does end up back at the Supreme Court, because this battle over what facilitate means has really been at the center of some of these court hearings that have been going on over the last few weeks in the courtroom in Greenbelt, Maryland, before this judge. The Supreme Court's order, just using that word facilitate, it frankly gave the Trump administration some wiggle room here. They have been telling the court, they've basically done all they could, but they can't, do anything more to bring Abrego Garcia back now that he's no longer in the hands of U.S. authorities and is in El Salvador. But Abrego Garcia's lawyers, meanwhile, have been saying that these actions so far have not amounted to complying with that Supreme Court order to facilitate. So as this battle goes on, it really does seem that there is a chance that this could bubble back up to the Supreme Court to really settle in more detail exactly the steps that the administration needs to take here.
And Zach, this isn't the first time the Trump administration has used the state secrets privilege to block a court from examining its deportation policy. Do legal experts think the privilege is being used properly here and the administration is on solid legal ground?
Legal experts I've talked to have talked to me about how that this privilege is fairly rare. It doesn't get invoked all too often, but we are in a bit of uncharted waters, right? We've never seen, deportations in quite this fashion, where the president in mid-March invoked the Alien Enemies Act, and then suddenly in a matter of hours, we had dozens of migrants deported to that El Salvador mega prison. So I think that the factual basis of these lawsuits is a little bit different than some things that we've seen in the past. So this is by no means the first time that we've seen the federal government try to invoke the state secrets privilege, but we've never seen a case quite like this. So it really does seem as an open question at this point of whether this privilege is going to carry the day.
And so is that another question that ultimately will have to be decided by the Supreme Court? You know, what is the proper use of the state secrets privilege?
You know, that is a possibility as well, in addition to taking up that issue of whether, facilitate and whether the Trump administration has been complying with that. All of these different legal questions could eventually bubble up to the Supreme Court. And we've really seen the Trump administration not being afraid to take emergency appeals to the Supreme Court. They have now filed more than a dozen since taking office. It's quite a staggering number. So certainly if the Trump administration loses here, they could make an attempt to go to the nation's highest court.
Busy days over at the Supreme Court and really all the courts dealing with these Trump administration policies, but we'll continue to follow it. Zach Schoenfeld, thanks so much for your help.
Thanks, Drew.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue to follow up on these on this legal breaking reporting and this case with Kilmar Abrego Garcia and the wrongful, erroneous, illegal, unlawful, and unconstitutional deportation of him despite a 2019 immigration judge's court order prohibiting him from being sent and, in other words, deported back to El Salvador, in fear of retaliation and persecution from a local gang there. If you did, for now, enjoy this legal breaking reporting and video analysis update, please make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and enjoy. Firstly. Secondly, if you want to make sure that you're always up to date on all the things legal breaking reporting wise on the side of politics, please be sure to hit the bell icon as well as the all notifications option. If you thirdly also want to stay up to date on all the things legal breaking reporting wise on the side of politics, please follow me as well on my social medias that will be linked down below in the video description. That is there. I will be updating you guys on when I've posted and uploaded legal breaking analysis reporting videos to the YouTube channel. Fourthly, ladies and gentlemen, please help me reach and achieve the overall channel goal of 170 plus subscribers. The reason why I'm saying 170 plus subscribers is because right after we reach and achieve the goal of 170 subscribers, we have more subscribers to reach and achieve right after we reach and achieve the goal of 170 subscribers. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, please stay positive, even though I know it's hard for you guys at times, majority of you anyway, to stay positive at times during this unfortunate illegal induced darkness time caused by the illegal unconstitutional Trump administration, Trump regime. And know that justice will prevail on the correct side of the law eventually, despite Donald Trump and his illegal unconstitutional regime's executive orders, actions, and behaviors. And please stay safe. Until my next legal breaking reporting, ladies and gentlemen, please, until my next legal breaking reporting, ladies and gentlemen, I will talk to you guys in the next legal breaking reporting.